little bit of a change in schedule. Our wonderful creative spirit, our bookkeeper, and the gal who has been doing all of the fanciful flagpoles with our artist, and hope that she gets better soon. So instead of having our fanciful flagpole session, I've thrown together a little PowerPoint about the latest victim of my interest, the latest target, if you will. This kingfisher has been hanging around this section of the river for a long time. A lot of you hear him on the river camera, and I've been able to get a few glimpses of him. But I've been looking things up, and I think it's time that we lured him into our realm. So I'm going to share my screen with everybody. And let me see if I can do this correctly. And if I can't, James will for video clips, James. I think we're ready to go. You should be seeing now a photo that we took from the river cam of the Mr. Kingfisher this spring. And you'll notice that he is perched on a little perch that is horizontal to the river and is quite low. And I'm finding that this is a very common place for them to be found. They like being close where they can watch for fish and quickly dive in. And I'm thinking we can put a little perch down there by our river camera so that we can routinely watch him, get good photos of him, and watch him fish. Here's another photo that I got of this little guy, and this was from the river camera, and I'll show you the video that precipitated this photo in a minute. But I thought I'd go through kind of the history of some of the incidences in which I've been seeing this guy. So first, let's start clear back last year. This is the first time I caught him in the act, and he was a long ways away. He was down near where the slough, where that beautiful beach that we all come to know and love. There he went. And you could see, I'm going to do a digital zoom here, and you can see it's clearly a kingfisher. He comes down and he gets a fish. This is slow motion and digital zoom. He just dives right in. Aren't they fabulous? What interesting, wonderful birds. They, of course, remind me of one of our DAD members who died, Mary B. Every time I see a kingfisher, I think of her. But look at that nice fish that he got there. And just the right size, etc. Look at the power of those wings, that little guy. They are such beautiful birds, and they're so dramatic. So I think it's worth getting James involved. Are you there, James? Can you hear me? I think we're going to...
Oh, yeah, I'm all ears here.
You're all ears. Well, I got work ideas for you, kiddo. So let's go to the next video. And this was taken just in October, but it starts out, you'll see just the tail of this little guy. And then you're going to see the camera swing around, and he swings right around with it, which means he's on top of the river camera. Now, be careful. This first little shot, you'll see his wing come flying by in the upper right-hand corner. Wing or tail feather, I don't know what it was. But it alerted me to the fact that he was around. See that? Did you see that up in the upper right-hand corner? So this alerted me, and I started looking. And I started using the camera to go up into the trees. You know, it took me a minute to gain control of the river cam. The river cam is not as adaptable or as usable, I don't think, as our other cameras. It has some advantages. It has fairly good optics, but it's not as quick to respond. So anyway, I finally gained control of the river camera, and I start looking in the trees because I'm, looking for this guy. I knew he was there, but where? And as I am looking, lo and behold, he's right on the camera. And you'll notice I'm turning the camera around, and on this camera, the whole housing moves, not just the camera part, but the whole top of the camera. So he's moving with it. And I'm fumbling around trying to, and momentarily I will get him a bit in focus. And you can see it's definitely a kingfisher. The white body, the striped tail, and then he takes off. Just as I'm starting to get him all in there, you can hear him. So then I start looking in the trees for this guy. And I was very lucky to find him. It's hard to do this with the river camera because you kind of lose your orientation a little bit when you look straight up. The camera operates just a little bit differently. It's a little disorienting. But I very luckily found this little guy. And I'm looking in all the trees. What a beautiful day it was. And finding him this particular day was wonderful because the lighting was so beautiful and the trees were so beautiful. It was after our first little snow of aha, there he is. What a gorgeous guy and what a gorgeous day this was. I was just delighted to get him. And, I fiddled around with the focus a little bit. He stays there a long time and allows me to kind of caress him with the camera, fiddling around with the focus to get it just right. The camera's wanting to focus on those leaves instead of him. There we go. He's in focus. What a beautiful bird. They're very distinctive. And they nest in holes along the bank of a body of water. And they're almost like swallows. We have a little colony of river swallows across the river that use the bank for nests. But these guys go way into the bank. So it has to be the right kind of a bank for them to burrow in. And I hope you're listening, James, because this is all going to come back to haunt you. What a gorgeous bird. Okay, so then just the other day, I was going along watching the river camera. It was still on tour. Actually, I'd gone back to look for a bird in this nest box previously, and I thought it was a flicker. But I decided, once I saw it swoop by, I thought, no, that's not a flicker. I think it's a kingfisher. And indeed it is. So let's take a look at this little video, which I made just the other day. So that was, yeah. And I'm pretty sure, you'll look and you'll see the bill, the beak. It's really got a long bill. It's not and it's got the coloring of a kingfisher. So first you see it appear at the hole in this nest box. There it goes. And from this angle, it looks a lot like a cockatoo because of the chest. But when you come back, you'll see it come out. And the kingfisher also has a little view on its chest. It's red and dark. But watch it come out, and I do this in slow motion. So you can see this is definitely not a flicker. It's a kingfisher. There it is in regular motion. And even in there, you can see it's not a flicker because the flicker has a bright orange underneath the wings. And here you'll see this guy come out in slow motion, and you can see the unique characteristics of a kingfisher. And I'm not exactly sure why this guy, there he goes, you can see the coloration, and you can see his long tail and okay, so You know, it's interesting now that I look at that again. I do see some red underneath that, underneath his wings, a reddish color, and so maybe I'm mistaken here. I'm open to suggestions. It was difficult, but regardless, this little guy has been hanging around, and I'm wanting to get at him. So let me get the PowerPoint going again here. And I want to show you some other videos from people on YouTube. Okay, so this is a video of a guy who created a perch, and I like this guy because he basically says, build it and they will come, that they are irresistible. They can't stand not using it.
He's coming.
You gotta love this guy. This photographer. He's a guy after my own heart, getting this blind. Got his chair there in his little camouflage tent. Right away, he gets a kingfisher to come. And you can see the red color on the sides of the kingfisher too. So that little video I showed you, I'm not exactly certain, but I'm still.
That was pretty darn cool. Like I say, you put it and they will come. You build it and they will come. You place it and they will come. I'm talking about perching, and my target was the belted kingfisher, and within literally 15 minutes they found it, and one was perched up there, and for like 5 minutes just still, and I was just trying to only take a picture every now and then so I wouldn't spook them, and that's an important part of wildlife photography, is knowing not only we landed, he dove down and caught a minnow. So I think I got some cool shots, although he landed facing away from me. When he landed, he kind of slipped off the branch, kind of caught his neck on the branch, but made an amazing recovery and still held on to that minnow. That's the important thing. But yeah, I ended up getting some nice portraits. These are really spooky birds, and if we didn't have a blind, there's no chance of getting these shots. And initially I thought I set the camera tripod too low because I was getting sky in the background, but when I looked through the lens, I realized I really loved that blue kind of dissolving into the green, and I wanted to keep that blurred background, so I set the camera to aperture priority, f5.6, and then an ISO where I could have a shutter speed of around a 1600th or 2000th of a second, so I could freeze the wings of the kingfisher.
I really appreciate this guy. So let's go on to our next video. Oh, and these are a couple of YouTubes. So I've got them queued up. All right. So this first one is building a blind, a artificial bank for a nest. Now I want you to pay close attention here, James. And I actually think our situation will be easier than this, but this is going to give you an idea of what people go through to create this for kingfishers. This is kind of a fun little video, kind of a fast motion. These guys are building a blind, and you notice that it's right near a rather steep bank on a lake or a river, probably a river. With this kind of bank, it looks like a river. And what they do is they make a false front that continues to look like the riverbank. And I can't help but think that we see how they put, glued material to the front of it so it looks like the bank of a river. And they've got a hole in there, and they're going to put a web camera in the back. And they're going to lure this kingfisher into thinking it's a nesting spot. Okay, and you see they've got their web camera hut, and then the actual place for the kingfisher is kind of next door. And we don't have to go through all that because we have all of the electricity and the camera and everything already down at the river. So here they are making it look like a bank to a river. And I think that's what we could do to the front of our tower, and puts I see the hole that they've got there for him, and then you have to kind of hope that they are going to follow suit. Let me go on now to this video. Wait a minute here. Let me see here. Okay, this is another video that I want to show you here. Another perch video. And this is a guy who put in a perch. And again, they find it irresistible. They show up every time a new perch goes in. And again, look at this kind of a vertical or not exactly horizontal, but near vertical arm to this that the kingfisher was actually used. And I think the guy who built this was in a pond in England. So this is not necessarily... I'm pretty convinced that we can build ourselves a... let me get back to my PowerPoint then. Not only a perch, but a nest. And if we were to build a nest, they have a couple clutches a year. And this is the kind of stuff that we could get if we built and they bought into nesting in our nest box. This is a male kingfisher coming to feed his chicks. So this is what I'm after, James.
Yeah, well, this is definitely interesting. My big concern with the building it on the actual RiverCam tower is that we have been going down there about, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times a year, sometimes more, but at least 3 or 4 times to clean the camera. And so we have to put a ladder up and unbolt a couple things, swing the arm around. And I don't think it would be too disruptive to anything happening inside that tower, but we'd want to be very sensitive about what's going on around there so that we don't...
Yeah, that's a really good point. An aspect just of hiding not to consider. We would have to, at least during the nesting season, be pretty careful about that for sure. But having the structure there means we could build off of it, even if it kind of jutted out towards the river from it, so that the arm could still swing, etc.
Yeah.
And we have the electricity and all of that right here. So, I mean, this would be, really fun if we could pull this off. I mean, my goodness, what chicks those guys are. Look at their eyes are shut. They're pretty interesting. And the chicks, I'm told, stick right around the nest, and they learn from watching their parents fish. And both parents are highly involved in their nesting. So I think it's kind of worth trying to do, James. I mean, it would provide us with just an enormous opportunity to learn something about kingfishers. So if we can figure something out, and when this video is done, James, I'd like you to switch to the river camera and focus on those trees that are right to the south of the river camera. Because, okay, we're done here now. I'm going to just get out of this all together, and I'll stop sharing my screen. The trees right next to the tower, because I think if we were to put some kind of, we could nail a long limb of a cottonwood so that it's kind of hanging out over the edge of the river, not real steeply, but would give them, just like that other perch that I showed you, perch, then we could easily see the kingfishers once they took to this perch. And it'd be really interesting to see. Clearly, this would be step one in my scheme of doing this. So, yeah. Now, this is exactly what I was talking about, James. This is right here. Yeah. So these trees that are right next to the camera. I mean, I think that you could nail something that would kind of hang out over the bank. You can actually see a little bit of a post there that's kind of hanging out, and I'm thinking something like that could hang out further. You see that post there? Yeah. Right there. That's right. Farther. That this might just lure these guys into fishing in front of our web camera. So that's my idea, and I'm sticking to it.
We might have to readjust some presets, but if we have it set up so that it's sticking out where it's still in view, then we can get multiple opportunities at seeing something on it.
Well, I see we have some ducks here, some diving ducks. Those are bubbleheads in the river right now. But yeah, and we could put a stop on it during our regular tour.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's see if we can't, if trees come down, and we should be able to find something right down by the river that we could nail to it and see if it is enough to lure them.
See what I can find on my walks, and we'll try to put something together.
Well, that'd be fun. That would be a fun project. And Celia asks how deep they go to fish and how deep is the water there. They do like shallower water. It's even more shallow if you go the other direction, James, if you go downstream from us instead of upstream from us. And we could try both, maybe one in one place and one in the other, because just downstream from us, I mean, yeah, is where our beach appears, during the time when there's low water, is more shallow yet. And you can see very well how shallow it is. So if we hit something right around there, that might work really well as well. And there's a tree right there you could attach it to. In fact, okay, anybody else have any other questions? Couple of perches, one north and one south of the river camera, and we can see which, if any of them, they prefer, either of them. Yeah, this will be a fun experiment. Well, Mr. Magpie is happy to accommodate. You can see how shallow the...
Yeah, I think that would work out pretty good.
And if we get them lured to our perch, that would give us, the incentive to then go ahead to all the trouble of creating a nest project. But if they're hanging around it's something that would be worth trying.
So it's interesting to see if they actually are taking up residence in those nest boxes. Isla sounded like this morning that she had the kingfisher is taken to one of those boxes or not. It'd be great if they did. That's an
Well,
easy.
they wouldn't use it for a nest for sure. In fact, I'm surprised to see either the kingfisher or a flicker in them at this time of year.
I see.
Yeah, I mean, it's not nesting time at all. So I don't know why they would be using it. I don't think a kingfisher would choose a box like that as a. They definitely are ground nesters in the ground. Okay.
This magpie's having quite a time here.
Yeah, they like
enjoying
to
the
come
warmer
and
weather.
down here.
All right, awesome. Well, yeah, that was.
Because they're so pretty, it would be really fun to get them fishing here where we are. Okay, thanks everyone. We'll see how this goes. Another project, another experiment at Dunrovin.
All right, well, stay tuned. We'll be back at 3 o'clock for Dunrovin Jeopardy. Ryan's getting all queued up and ready to go. And, gosh, I guess I need to work on my Alex Trebek impersonation. So, I'm going to get back to the dress. Okay. We'll see y'all at 3 o'clock.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.